I'm still very much in the I'm not sure what all this stuff can do for me just yet phase, but I'm definitely playing with it in different ways and just trying to see what works. Um, I had a good experience this week with AI on Mural, and I don't even know how advanced this stuff is relative to other things, but it was really simple and
Hmm.
really helpful. It was after a session where everybody had sort of input what they thought on sticky notes. You can just highlight the whole area of the board and say, "Give me a summary." And then you can give it prompts like more detail or less detail, relatively straightforward. But it gives you it in no time, you know. And
Yeah.
I read through it after being in the meeting for the hour, and it was good. Like it captured, I think, the essence of what we talked about, you know. And then small things that are very useful, like cluster ideas by topic,
Yeah.
cluster ideas by sentiment. Like these are real time savers, you know. And to me, that's what I'm kind of looking for those small wins rather than the revolutionary things, you know, right now. But I guess the revolutionary things are being plotted and schemed in Silicon Valley or wherever, you know. Um,
Yeah. I also used it in Miro. Um, and you said you used it in Mural,
yeah, yeah.
but I guess I don't know if it's very similar in a sense. In Miro, you can also select some sticky notes and have a conversation about
Mm,
them. Like you said, cluster or summarize it for me, but you can also do other interesting things like brainstorm for me, which is interesting because then it's actually useful in a workshop in a sense. You have a prompt and you might ask it to brainstorm some things and then ask people to add, remove. Uh, it's a bit like you have more people in the room because sometimes you read something that someone generated, and now you
mm.
have a new thought. Now you can ask AI to even add more and brainstorm more. That's interesting. Like you
Yeah,
said,
that's
maybe not very groundbreaking, but it can save some time. And yeah,
yeah, and I think like the way I look at this is um so here's an example, right? The extension to Copilot, Microsoft's extension to the Office and Teams suite, which I experimented with this morning and couldn't get working, but I'm looking at it from my own kind of personal account, right? It costs $30 per month in the enterprise context per person.
mm,
So to a CFO, that's probably expensive because they think of, my God, 30 times, 12 times, how many people do we have using Teams? That's crazy. But in a conversation I had this week, if you imagine someone saving $30, excuse me, worth of their time every month, is that achievable with, you know, AI tools? I think easily if people know how to do it and what to do it for, you know.
yeah,
And that's maybe part of the kind of leadership that's needed in this area is just like here's what you can do. You know, don't depend on the machines just yet, but here's what you can do, you know. And I mean, I'm thinking in my last job, we used to spend time doing meeting minutes. Like that's one example. Just generate the minutes from the transcripts, you know, capture the actions, send them after the meeting, like all that mundane stuff, you know,
yeah,
that takes time and energy and effort and cognitive effort as well, because you're reviewing drafts and oh, that's not correct and send it back and blah 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 blah. You know, it takes all that pain away. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer, but in an enterprise context, you know, this is kind of a definition of agility, isn't it? Like we all know AI is here. We all know it's coming. We all know it's going to change things. So, you know, how easy is it for you and your company to use this stuff?
yeah,
Um, it could be a kind of an important factor in whether the company, does well in the next few years. Like, are they embracing it? Are they slow to embrace it? Are they saying they're embracing it, but nobody has access to it? Is it some variation of all of those things? It's interesting to me, I think.
Yeah, and I have one layer for me is that I'm helping to actually verify the business case
Mm,
for software engineers using it. In a sense, we know how much it costs, but how much is on the saving side? In a sense,
yeah.
is it actually useful for people, or what is it useful for? Do you generate more lines of code? Sure, you can generate more lines of code with it, but you know is this really translating into some outcomes, better outcomes for someone? Yeah,
Mm.
that's tricky, interesting, and tricky thing to
So,
work with.
so that's where I think the idea of like how much time do you have to save per person to justify the cost? And like, let's say blended daily rates, right? I don't know what they are, but if the cost of the thing is $30 per month, like you might have to save half an hour per month, you know? And like I don't know, but I imagine if you try and justify half an hour per person per month versus, the total cost of the tool, that makes it much more compelling. And that's not my argument. I'm totally copying
Yeah.
that from somebody else, but I plan to use it, you know.
Uh,
That
yeah.
was a guy called Stuart Munson, by the way, who gave a presentation at the Ali conference in Cork this week. And
But that's very true. And also, it would be nice to check with controlling people. Uh, how do they see the cost? In a sense, cost of a person versus cost of a new tool, because maybe these
hmm,
are, different types of costs. And maybe it's just easier to have a cost of one person than $30. Uh,
yeah, and
Translate
that's
it into where does it go? OPEX, CAPEX, and all of this stuff.
oh yeah, and again, like big companies make this stuff really hard for themselves, don't they? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
here's AI, it's going to really save time. Okay, prepare a business case and we'll put it into a process, and that will take some time, and then we'll come back and we'll ask you for more justification, and it will go to the next stage gate. This is where
yeah.
this is where it's challenging, I think, in bigger companies.
But you know that it's also challenging because bigger companies they don't operate the same way like you do. In a sense, you just bought it for yourself,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, you will get rid of it. Or but for bigger companies, it's more like all the I don't know reporting for the need of the stock market and how they need to be aligned with that. There's just more moving parts for
Hmm.
bigger companies, but overall, it's like um, it's only one of the benefits is for people to help them write the code. And another big part for me is the ability to use the transcript of a conversation to do more things with the conversation. Right very now, something we are discussing, a lot of different templates that you need to fill in order to launch an idea in a company. And, against that's probably bureaucracy in larger companies. Like before you actually start investing time, you need to fill this template. You need to make sure this person stamped the
Hmm.
template and so on. And before that was like sit with the template and fill it. There is no, words won't magically appear there. You need to do that work. And there's a lot of templates to fill and a lot of questions to be answered. And now you can actually do it differently. You can, what we're trying to do now, we have a conversation with product people, with engineering people, and it's just a talk where we ask the typical questions. Who's your user? What are their needs? What is your product? What is it about? Tell me some more. What it's not about, what's in, what's out. And you can just have a conversation and later from the transcript, please fill those templates for me because I'm too lazy to do that. And we already talked about it. So please just do that heavy
Yeah.
lifting of figuring out how this should look. And it's even more interesting that some AI can generate graphs for you. Like, for example, Claude. Is that the name, Claude?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he can generate graphs for you. So it's not only the written conversation, it's also like generate a wordly map for me. Wordly map if you played with those. And it can generate it for you.
Yeah. And I like the idea of so I've always tried to use um sort of online or digital tools to help me with memory, right? Because we're constantly in a sea of information in technology's work. Like there's for everything that actually happens, there's five or six that don't, and you need to remember where everything is, and it takes a lot of cognitive energy. So anything when you put that into a team or a team of teams or an organization, like obviously there's so much stuff in people's heads that maybe we could help by having something that we could outsource a little bit of that memory too. So like the AI sidekick in our meetings, if he's coming or she or it is, if they, I don't know what pronoun to use for AI now, we're getting into very strange territory. But if the AI sidekick is in, let's say, our sprint planning, our daily scrums, our refinement sessions, our review, and our retro, we can use prompts to say, in the retro, what do you think, AI
Yeah,
assistant?
yeah.
You know, and the AI assistant might remember things that we have forgotten. He might say, "Well, you had four refinement conversations in the last two sprints that were very similar. Did you know you refined the same ticket twice, or something? Something like that." And everyone might look at each other and go, "What? Did we?" I've been there before. I've actually done that. We get halfway through refining something, and the team says, "Wait a minute, we already did this one. Why are we doing it again?" And everyone says, "Oh." So,
I
um,
I can't actually wait for this to happen. Like you can ChatGPT already has a very good app where you can have a conversation with it, but it's still back and forth because it just automates prompt sending and reading back the result to you. But the actual, like you can see some presentations already, uh, but you can't use it yet, where the conversation is more natural in a sense. AI reads something for you, and mid sentence you stop, stop, stop. Can you something?
mm,
And I can't wait for AI to do the same. In a sense, people in the meeting talk, 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 and then AI says, stop, stop, stop. Can't you hear what's happening? This and this is happening. What would you do about it?
mm,
And that will be interesting phase for facilitators. Like, what is the value that you add versus AI? I imagine, you can always say, I'm awesome at reading body language and I can see facial expression. And Paddy now is smiling. That must mean something. But then, yeah, I don't know if I actually do a lot of that in meetings myself. So maybe I will be the first one to be automated as a
uh,
facilitator. I don't know. I'm very curious how this
well,
will unfold.
have you played with the Miro Agile Coach Sidekick, the one that you can ask for feedback? I haven't played with it yet, but
No,
there's a
Miro or
Miro. Yeah, you can ask a product manager or an Agile coach for feedback. So you can highlight an area of a board and say, "Give me feedback like a Agile coach," or "Give me feedback
yes,
like a."
yes, yes. I did various stuff with this. Um, the only one case where I really spend a bit more time doing something like this, the challenge was for me that in the end there will have to be someone who will do something. and it's not easy to say, or it like AI gave me this hint, or AI suggests that we should do this, and it's still not a sexy statement in the sense,
Yeah.
people need to figure out stuff for themselves. Sometimes they need to suffer a bit. Sometimes they need to,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'll give you a perspective, a different perspective. I was talking about travel planning with my nephew some time ago, and I said like, oh, I look up itineraries when I'm going somewhere, and generally people have blogged about it or they've written about it and shared photos and stuff. So I kind of cherry pick the things that I'm interested in the places that I go to. And I said, maybe we'll be using, ChatGPT for this stuff sometime soon. And he said, no, that takes all the fun out of it. Like, why would you just ask a computer? Go figure it out for yourself. Like, use your own brain. And I was like, I need to get you into my company and tell people this. Like, this is, like, I like the idea of getting off a blank page. I like the idea of having support, but I don't like the idea of replacing all thinking, and I think we're still the person is at the beginning and the person is at the end, and there's one AI tool in the middle. I don't think we're anywhere yet where there's a person handing over to an AI tool, handing over to an AI tool, and then we're done.
No.
That'll come. That will come, but we're not. I don't think well, maybe some people are, but I'm not there yet. Like that's what the podcast conversation kind of shows. This is what happens when two AIs talk to each other. Look how crazy this is. But you know, that's where we're going. Like one AI might summarize your meeting, the other AI might put it in a PowerPoint. That's a mundane example. But once AIs are executing tasks and handing off to each other, we get to some pretty interesting places, I think.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. One thing very interesting for me also is the aspect that so many people did not try it.
Mm,
Uh, that for me, it's like it's obvious. Let's find if AI can help you with this. Like, why would I need to improvise writing this if ChatGPT will do so much better work than I will? And for so many people, it's still like, all right, I need to try this AI thing. What did you say? And I'm actually quite surprised that you know I would expect my mom, for example, is not really into it, but so many business people like it's
mm.
just surprising. It's surprising that it's still new.
Well, I'm going to give you one example of one that I plan to use, and I'm not sure yet to what extent I'll be able to use it. But I'm doing, and we talked about in-house training before. I'm doing some in-house training in the next few weeks and months. And some of it is stuff that I could take from where I am and do in another place. Like it's very boilerplate. This is what a technique is, or this is what a practice is. And if I write scripts for those, there are AI video generators that you can use to record videos. So I'm really curious to see what the reaction to those AI generated videos might be. Like, is it still better to record yourself in a video where you're not actually interacting with anybody? Like,
Yeah.
or are people now willing to accept that you've just passed a script into a sort of an AI agent that looks like you and has your mannerisms and stuff? So I'm
If you
curious.
will experiment with this part, I'm super curious about it. Like
Yeah,
with you actually being there, AI you being there,
yeah.
because we did try out AI generated content for slides, and then even AI doing those slides for you. So it's like
Mm,
ChatGPT handing over to PowerPoint AI that will take the content and then propose some slides in
yeah.
Designer, which is uh, for the generic stuff. I think it's very useful. Like why, yeah, some of this stuff is just explaining how it works and
Mhm.
proposing some icons to visualize that. Why not?
Well, on PowerPoint, beautiful AI is is cool. I had a look at it recently. So if you get a big summary out of a meeting and you want to put it in a nicely digestible format, you can copy paste it into a prompt into beautiful.ai, use your company's colors, and it just gives you something to get started with. And honestly, it's nicely designed. Like you would have you would spend time, and
Yeah,
that's the point here, right? You would spend time doing that yourself. So, you know, it's like it's a bit like the old automation idea. I think the case I heard from Stuart's talk this week was, before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't have a 2-day weekend, you know? So maybe this is a way to get to a 4-day week. Like that's my positive spin, and maybe it's best to end on a positive note, right? Maybe this is a way to kind of spend less time on stuff that's really mundane and boring, like meeting minutes and
yes.
putting PowerPoint presentations together. Let's let the robots take that stuff over,
As
and
a
and
as a
and maybe the revolution won't come too soon, you know?
as a parent, I always say it's the 4-day week is awesome as long as it's not for schools. Schools
Yeah.
should be 7 days a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, gosh, I wonder how much of AI is being used in schools already to write essays and to do the thinking at that stage. That's when it's probably a bit bad, you know. Or
I think
maybe these are the
I,
skills that are needed in future, you know.
I think that's where it's used the most in a sense.
Hmm.
Like no one will see what you do, how you do it at home, so you can just use it, and
Mm.
you know, I'm sure it's abused a lot. I would say it's not used enough in the business context.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, the experiments will continue. Yeah, I'm going to play
Ooh.
with Office Copilot in Teams, and the beautiful AI seems to be working well. I'm trying that, but the video generator, I haven't found a decent one yet. I recorded an example and shared it with family, um, and they didn't like it at all. They said, "Oh, are we gonna do more of those? I don't like that. Like, it's kind of you, but when I shared it with colleagues, they said, "Wow, like ideal." So if someone doesn't know you very well, maybe
Yeah,
it's less
interesting.
less strange. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on it yet, but I'm gonna try it.
It's a bit like those two avatars that you shared on LinkedIn just now.
Yeah,
You can see that there's something wrong with them,
yeah.
but it's interesting.
And I think, to be honest, it's the same with AI generated text. When you read something that
Yeah.
has been AI generated, you can see, you can tell, like the images as well. Or have you seen the videos of AI hallucinations? Some
Yes,
of
a
them
lot.
are incredibly surreal. And then there's the comedians recreating them. And there's a group of Chinese comedians
Yes,
recreating AI
yes,
hallucinations. They're really brilliant. Um,
yeah. But what you say about text, for example, I think it's like you can you can teach AI to be better at it. In
hmm,
a sense, stop repeating some of the words, like the words that you just associate nowadays with AI generated content. Also avoid the like in conclusion at the end. That's like
yeah.
there was a time I think it got better. ChatGPT got better at it, but some time ago it was this typical write me something and in
Mm,
conclusion and you could
yeah.
go to LinkedIn and see a lot of this stuff. That's another part where a lot of people complain that AI is taking over comments section, article section.
Oh yeah.
That's
Social
interesting.
media, it's bots talking to bots, isn't it? Yeah. But Yeah, interesting area, I think. And I think for 2025, that's where I see my kind of learning going, is just spending more time helping people find better ways to use this stuff. It's the coaching and supporting.
Yeah, and it's actually a lot of learning because the new tools appear very fast,
Mm.
and you like every tool is has some interesting feature, like Google LM, those podcast style conversations. It's just
Yeah.
interesting feature. So it takes time to be up to date with what's happening, and then how to use it in practice. So it's actually benefiting you as in your role, and that's
Mm.
also interesting learning.